Welcome, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a really intense one, Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights.
An absolute classic.
Yeah.
And quite a wild ride it is.
Totally. So our mission, like always, is to dig through the sources you've provided, pull out the key bits of knowledge, the really important insights.
Yeah, giving you a shortcut, basically, to getting your head around this amazing, sometimes difficult but unforgettable novel.
Exactly. It's raw, passionate, be prepared. It definitely stirs up some strong feelings.
It certainly does.
Okay, let's unpack this then. To really get Wuthering Heights, I mean, the sheer force of it, we need to look at where it came from, right?
Absolutely. Context is crucial here.
So what was going on, historically, literarily? How did Brontë manage to capture something so, well, untamed, and where does it fit in the grand scheme of things?
Well, what's fascinating here is how it's so deeply of its time, the Victorian era, but it also feels, well, timeless, almost rebellious. It's got all these strong Victorian roots, sure, but then it pulls in these heavy Gothic elements, dark, moody places, intense psychology.
Right, the spooky atmosphere.
Exactly. And it blends that with this huge wave of romanticism, big emotions, the power of nature, individuals pushing against the rules.
Okay, so that mix is key.
It really is. Understanding the Gothic and romantic influences, it helps you see why the themes feel so potent, why the atmosphere is so haunting. Brontë was really tapping into something powerful in the air at that time.
Okay, so for anyone listening, maybe you've read it, maybe you haven't. Let's quickly sketch out the main story. No spoilers, of course.
Correct.
That's the core conflict.
Right. At its absolute heart, you've got two families living out on these Yorkshire moors.
Yeah.
There are the Earnshaws of Wuthering Heights. That's the more rugged, wild place.
Okay.
And then you have the Lintons at Thrushcross Grange, who are more refined, civilized, you could say.
A clear contrast.
A very clear contrast. But the real engine of the story, the thing everything spins around, is this incredibly turbulent, passionate, and frankly, often destructive bond between Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw.
That central relationship.
Yes, it's almost more than love. It's this elemental connection, obsession maybe,
Yeah.
and it's this force that really kicks off all the drama, all the conflict that echoes down the generations. It's definitely not your typical romance.
Not at all. So who are the main people caught up in all this? You mentioned Heathcliff and Catherine, then there's Edgar Linton, Nellie Dean, Isabella Linton. How did their personalities kind of feed the fire?
Oh, their personalities are the fire, in many ways. Take Catherine. She's not just lively. Her spirit is completely untamed. She can't or won't fit herself into the neat boxes society expects.
Right, she's torn.
Exactly. Torn between Heathcliff, who matches her wildness, and Edgar Linton, who offers stability and refinement. And that internal conflict is, well, tragic.
And Heathcliff, he's the brooding archetype, isn't he?
He is. But it's more than just brooding. His anger, his need for revenge, it comes from this deep well of hurt, being rejected, looked down on because of his class, feeling betrayed. It twists him into this force of destruction. He almost becomes a weapon against the very society that scorned him.
Wow, okay. And Edgar? The opposite.
Pretty much. Edgar represents that civilized world. He's gentle, kind, but ultimately, well, he's just not equipped to handle the sheer intensity of Catherine Heathcliff.
Yeah.
He's almost overwhelmed by it.
And his sister, Isabella.
Ah, Isabella. She gets swept up in Heathcliff's plans, disastrously so. It really shows how far his bitterness reaches, how destructive it is.
And Nellie Dean, she's the one telling us most of the story, right?
Yes, Nellie the housekeeper. She's crucial. She's not just an observer. She's our main guide. But she's not neutral either. Her own biases, her sort of practical, sometimes judgmental viewpoint shapes how we see everything unfold. She's a witness across two generations.
Here's where it gets really interesting then. We have these intense characters, these clashing forces, and that leads us straight into the themes Brontë is exploring, doesn't it? Our sources point to 5 big ones: love and obsession, revenge, social class, nature versus civilization, and, well, the sheer destructive power of passion.
Yes, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, Bronte's really digging into some fundamental, often quite dark, parts of being human. That love theme. It's not sweethearts and flowers.
Definitely not.
It's this consuming, almost spiritual connection that tips right over into obsession. It breaks people. And Bronte's radical in how she shows this. It's almost like she's saying society's attempts to tame these deep passions, they just make things worse, create monsters sometimes.
And that feeds into revenge.
Directly. You see these cycles of revenge, one act of cruelty leading to another, poisoning families for years. It really makes you think about the cost,
Yeah.
Where does seeking justice just become more pain?
Hmm. And class seems central too, especially for Heathcliff.
Absolutely central. Social standing dictates so much: who you can love, how you're treated. It's a huge source of Heathcliff's rage and alienation.
Then there's the nature versus civilization thing, the wild moors versus the fancy house.
Right. Wuthering Heights itself, the moors, that raw nature, freedom, passion. Thrushcross Grange, that society, manners, control. It's not just background. It mirrors the character's inner conflicts, especially Catherine's. Is she the wild girl of the moors or the lady of the Grange?
She can't seem to reconcile them.
She can't.
Yeah.
And underlying it all is that theme of destructive passion, the idea that these intense feelings, if they're not channeled or understood, can just burn everything down. The chilling thought, the legacy of suffering passed on.
It's incredibly powerful. And beyond the themes, the way she tells the story, Bronte's craft is just wow. The structure, using different narrators, the story within a story.
Uh-huh. That structure is so clever. This raises an important question. Why do it that way?
Yeah, why not just tell it straight?
Well, having Lockwood, who's this outsider, and then Nellie, who's deeply involved but has her own perspective, it gives you these layers. You're piecing things together, questioning who to believe. It creates distance, but also intimacy.
Right, you feel like you're uncovering secrets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that enhances all those Gothic elements, the creepy house, the possible ghosts, the intense psychological drama. It builds suspense, makes it feel more unsettling, more psychologically real somehow. You're not just told the story, you're kind of navigating it.
So what does this all mean? Centuries on, why are we still talking about Wuthering Heights? Why does it still hit so hard?
I think it's that raw emotional honesty. Brontë just goes there, into the really messy, dark, complicated parts of love, loss, hate, revenge.
Things we still grapple with.
Absolutely. Universal stuff. And she doesn't pretty it up. That intensity, that exploration of extreme states,
Yeah.
it just resonates. It makes you think about it. Human nature maybe gives you those aha moments, even if they're uncomfortable ones. The sources even suggest it kind of challenges us, doesn't it? Maybe that wildness, that untamed passion, for all its destruction, is somehow more true than the polite society rules. It forces you to look at the power of connection, for good and well, for ill.
What a journey. We've covered Bronte's world, the core story, the unforgettable characters, those deep themes, the narrative genius.
That's a lot to take in.
It really is. Hopefully you feel well equipped now, whether you're revisiting the moors or heading there for the first time. Thanks for joining us on this exploration.
Yeah, it's been great digging into it. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Think about that line. Where does passionate, unconditional love actually slide into destructive obsession? Wuthering Heights really pushes that question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you think about what we call love and what happens when it goes to those extremes. Something to chew on.